You know, every day that we wake up is a gift and an opportunity. Because of our military, men and women who are currently serving, they provide the very freedom that we have. You know, we get to come or go to work, we get to come home, spend time with our kids, take them to soccer games, take them to baseball, spend Thanksgiving and Christmas with our family while our current military is overseas fighting for the very freedom that we have.
We just wanted to pause for a moment and again thank and salute all of our active and inactive military members and family members.
So Matt Maupin and the current military and our veterans who have served for us, we dedicate this to you.
And this is for the ones who heard the fight for freedom calling. And for the ones who answered, I'll do what I can. For the ones who ran to battle, who believed that freedom mattered, well, this is for you. And this is for the ones whose orders took them to the front line. And for the ones who fell and never made it home. And for the ones who came back broken, with memories too hard to be spoken, this is for you. We remember, and we are thankful, and we are grateful, and we know freedom isn't free. Oh, we remember, gift you gave, the price you paid, it's not in vain, and it will never be forgotten, 'cause we remember. And this is for the ones whose war was wondering and waiting, and for the moms and dads and families back at home, those with pictures by their beds who had to learn to live again. Oh, this is for you. We remember, we are thankful and we are grateful, 'cause we know freedom isn't free. Oh, we remember, yes, we you gave, the price you paid, it's not in vain, and it will never be forgotten. And we remember every time we chase our dreams, or pray out loud, or speak our mind, and even when we disagree, oh, we remember. And though sometimes we've lost our way, we're still the land of the free and the home of the brave. And we remember. He said, Mama, I know you have a lot of plans for me. College in the fall. Hey.
We are here tonight to actually honor the fallen heroes. We are here to support the Yellow Ribbon Support Center.
Again, we're Keith Maupin and Matt Maupin's story we've told many a times, but here we've got over 26 Gold Star families. One of the things they have on the opening table here is a beautiful display of candles. Each one of the Gold Star families will have the opportunity to light a candle tonight in representation of their family member who has fallen in military service. Again, we're humbly here, and we hope that you enjoy what we were going to share. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
If not me, then who?
I met Keith and Matt's mom and Micah and the family 15 years ago next week, and I walked across that threshold into their home prepared to be facing a family that was in deep grief. This was when Matt was captured. It was not grief, it was hope, it was optimism, it was patriotism. And then I watched over the years while this family channeled their grief into something so constructive for others. They knew that by giving back to others, they were honoring Matt. And in 2005, the year after he was captured, I went to Iraq and took some of these cards and pins like Keith has on today. My name is Matt Maupin. Please remember my face. So Keith, presenting this to you. I look forward to getting my hammer again and helping you expand the Yellow Ribbon Support Center once again. And again, to thank everybody here for all the incredible work you do to help ensure we remember and hope that we hold up those every day who are making sacrifices for us, even as we enjoy this beautiful dinner this evening. Thank you.
Next to the soldier, standing proud and tall. He said, if not then...
I was with Matt the last time he was with his fellow soldiers. I was a part of the same convoy with which he was taken POW. As I was in high school, senior year, I was sitting in government class when the Twin Towers went down. And I remember thinking to myself very much then that things were about to change drastically, not only for me personally, but for the world. But right after I got out of my training, I did end up doing 2 deployments. My first deployment, I never did go to Iraq. The second deployment, I did. So that is where I met Matt. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna kind of tell you my account of the story that took place that day. About that time in Iraq in 2004, I don't know how much you guys remember the history of the war, but it had really started to unravel over there. The Mahdi militia was really a very strong Shiite militia was coming to bear. Al-Qaeda in Iraq was really starting to make its presence. So the country very quickly went from calm and peaceful to very, very bloody, very fast. The mission on April 9th was a 2nd platoon mission, but they were guaranteeing us to run into contact with the enemy. So they pulled several of us from 1st platoon to go with 2nd platoon. And we found it odd that they were telling us to grab tons of extra ammunition, and for the first time ever, regrettably, we put American soldiers in the trucks with the American civilian truck drivers for additional security. And it was the most ominous feeling I've probably ever felt in my life when I was tasked for that mission. It felt wrong from the word go. And we pulled out onto the road, and for the first time ever on a Friday, it was Good Friday, everything was completely gone. There were no people out, there were no civilians out, which just furthered that pit in your stomach where you could feel your heartbeat in your ankles of, oh my gosh, this is what's going on here. There's 2 different routes that we could take to get to Baghdad International Airport. One was Route Sword and one was Route Irish. And for anyone that served in Iraq, I think you know that Route Irish was one of the most dangerous roads in the Middle East for American troops. Well, we were originally supposed to go down Route Irish, and the way I understand it was there was an email sent to our convoy commander, Lieutenant Brown, telling us to take Route Irish because that was the safer route, because there was offensive operations taking place between the Cav and the Mahdi militia on Route Sword. However, that email sender sent it to himself, and we never received the message. So we pulled down onto Route Sword, like we had done several times at that point, having been there 4, 5, 6 weeks. And I'll never forget pulling down past a M1 Abram tank, and a convoy commander poked his head out looking at us like, what in the hell are you guys doing here? Of course, you can't just turn around 26 vehicles, so we pushed through. And then the dreaded words on my radio came across of, we're taking contact left. And it was Lieutenant Brown's vehicle. Little did I know, the first amount of contact that Lieutenant Brown's vehicle took was an IED blast that took out Lieutenant Brown. He wasn't dead, but he was definitely knocked out of the fight. thankfully, his driver, Specialist Church, had been doing missions only with Lieutenant Brown, so was pretty privy to driving the convoy commander vehicle. The weird thing about being in the back, a little bit further back in the convoy and then hearing you're taking contact is you don't have the element of surprise, so you have that good 5 or 6 seconds to quite literally crap your pants before you get up to it. And sure enough, we started taking heavy contact from the left, and it was nothing like we had experienced. Muzzle flashes, heavy gunfire, airborne murders, and it just got extremely heavy, and my gunner just started cutting loose. The next thing I remember, and mind you, for the sake of full honesty, I'm still putting that day together, but I remember that everything became really uncontrollable. Mind you, we had fully stocked fuel trucks, and they were getting riddled with bullet holes and RPGs. So it was 90 degrees in Baghdad, and the road turned to black ice essentially because of the oil on the roads. And so the convoy slowed down to about 10 or 15 miles an hour. We just kept fighting through it. We lost all radio comms, and all of a sudden I saw this big black cloud of smoke ahead, and we drove through it. And through the smoke, I thought it was an illusion, but I saw Convoy Commander Lieutenant Brown's vehicle on an overpass driving into the area with which we were being attacked from. And I should have mentioned, Matt was behind me in the convoy. And I'm thinking, why in the hell are we gonna go into this neighborhood that we're getting attacked from? And I didn't know it, but the road had been blocked from a previous attack, so we couldn't get through. And so Church was just trying to keep us moving, because that's what you do. And so we jumped down through a ditch onto an outer road, and as we were coming around the cloverleaf, the truck in front of me slid off to the right and rolled all the way down the hill and landed on its head, on its hood. And about that time, my truck started sliding down because of the fuel, and I thought we were gonna dump over the overpass, and my gunner was gonna go over the top and we were gonna flip. But by some miracle, we caught traction last minute and we pulled through. And when I looked to my left, when you're normally the 8th truck in a 26 vehicle convoy, everybody's there. There was 2 trucks behind me and nobody else. Just that wall of black smoke. And I thought, well, I can't say what I thought, but it was very deflating. And at that point, we were getting extremely low on ammo. The kill zone was about a 3-mile kill zone, so we had been in this for a while now. For the first time in my life, and the only time, I just remember thinking, I hope I get hit soon, because it was that intense. And everything was falling apart, and we were all screwed. So it just really felt like, you know what, let's just get this over with. But I very clearly remember about that time, seeing down the road, I could see 2 American tanks, and us 8 vehicles just pushed through the gunfire and actually made it to the tanks. Once we got there, we had tons of wounded in the vehicles as well. And Specialist Church had taken Lieutenant Brown right away into a Bradley to get him out of there. And they pulled us into a milk factory, a semi-secure area that they had fought for overnight. And that's when we got the wounded out, and we started taking into account, okay, there's like 14 of us. And that's when the graveness of the situation started setting in. Little did we know, Specialist Jeremy Church, who has been to this dinner before, I believe, had tried telling the Cav that our entire convoy was still back out on that road, and they weren't going to go back out there because the area was deemed too hot. So he just got in his Humvee with another soldier and went back into the fight, and ended up getting all the way back to several trucks and finding our very final vehicle, Sergeant Groff's vehicle, packed with 11 or 12 different guys, civilian truck drivers and soldiers. And the Cav saw him do this, went back out there, followed this guy, and they got people out of there because they had the armored vehicles and they could do so. There was no room, so I believe Church stayed out there again for another run, and still somehow made it back to all of us alive. And I think it's worth noting that he was the first Army reservist to win the Silver Star since Vietnam. Finally, the Bradleys came to pick us up, and they took us into Baghdad International Airport. the infamous hostage video came out, and we were all in Chow Hall, and our commander came out and said, "I'm warning you guys, this is on TV." And there he was. And it was a weird feeling of hope and also complete devastation. We were happy he was alive, but couldn't really take well seeing him with all those guys behind him with the weapons. But secretly, I was struggling pretty bad with everything that had happened. While I'm very lucky to not have been wounded, there's a thing out there that exists called survivor's guilt, and I really haven't felt it for a while until tonight, but it does exist. I think you fellow soldiers know what I'm talking about right now. The one positive thing that comes out of a tragic day or event or accident is that you are now given the gift to be able to put yourself back in those shoes at any point, to make yourself realize that maybe whatever it is you're dealing with in your daily life is not that big of a deal. For anyone in this room who maybe thinks they can't relate to this kind of story or this kind of tragedy, we all can. And the older I get, the more this all makes sense. We're all in the same boat. It's all relatable. And I think the final gift that anyone who passes on or leaves us is that we should honor them by doing what we can to put our best foot forward. Doesn't mean you have to start a charity to help combat veterans or a charity to help kids or anything. Just hold the door for somebody. Smile a little bit more. Because life, man, can be over so fast. And in some people's demise, other people rise through it. And I think that's what's so important about what Micah's done and his attitude, and Keith and Carolyn. Push forward and try to stay positive. I think what's most important has nothing to do with money or fame or whatever, it's just that I think when it comes time for us all to go, like, if we should close our eyes for the last time and know that we tried our best with whatever it was we did. So, Keith, Micah, I don't think there's ever going to be a comfortable moment for me for not getting Matt back with us. It'd be pretty cool if this night didn't have to exist. So I'm truly sorry that we didn't bring him home. But I promise you guys that I'm going to keep my foot on the gas for my life until I'm dead and put my best foot forward. And I'm truly honored to be here tonight, and thanks for having me.
There are events that happen in life that bring people together who would never had any commonality otherwise. The Yellow Ribbon Support Center. On April 9, 2004, Staff Sergeant Matt Maupin of our United States Army was taken captive by Iraqi insurgents while serving our country. A horrific fact, Matt was taken and executed. His father, Keith Maupin, a Marine himself, started this support center when Matt went missing. Keith has continued on 15 years later and hopes to raise awareness for our troops who are still serving so they know they have not been forgotten.